Hello viewers, and welcome to Dave's Garage. Today I have a tool review for you. We're going to be doing an impact wrench. This is the Ingersoll Rand model 231C. So let's look at some of the features of it real quick, then we'll get to the standard issue questions, and I'll just kind of go over the tool with you, give you a little demo and tell you how I've used it. Alright, it's extra windy out today, so we're going to use this pretty trash can as our table here instead of the usual tailgate. This is the box it came in back when I got it. Now I've had this thing for about a year. The way I like to do these tool reviews is to wait for some time to pass, actually use the thing out in the field. That way it'll give you an idea of how durable it is, how long it's going to last. And we can talk about some real world experience where it's been used. But again, this is the box it came in, and I just kind of used it to store extra air compressor parts, things like that. It did come with this instruction manual. Now you would think that's a real nice instruction manual. It's actually about 3 pages long. It's just in that many different languages. If I remember right, there was a card that came with it, and the card basically gave you a website that if you needed detailed instructions, you go to the website. This is the impact wrench itself. Where is it made? Made in China. As are most things these days, it seems like. As you see there, it's a 1/2-inch drive, wants 90 psi. If I remember right, it requires 4.5 CFM, which I'm pretty sure stands for cubic feet per minute. That's how much volume of air will go through. So you want to make sure that you have an air compressor that can handle that. Real quick, there's my air compressor. It's 30 gallon. It does 5.1 CFM. You can see the details of that air compressor right there. Because I just got into the whole air compressor thing about a year ago. So having to set up my own and everything, I'll share a little bit that I've learned with you. CFM refers to how fast the pump can fill the air into the compressor. If you're using something that has a high CFM rating, as long as you can meet the PSI, then you should be good, unless you're getting over like 20, because just the air coming out of the tank through the hose and coming out of the hose can probably go about 20 to 25, somewhere in there. But what'll happen is once you hear your air compressor kick on where it's trying to fill itself back up, if your tool requires more CFM, then the motor can put air, like faster than the motor can put the air back into the tank. Then you're going to have to stop working until the compressor catches up and tops off. So anyway, with the 30 gallon, I've had no problems using this tool at all. It's been more than enough. If you had a 20 gallon, you'd probably be okay there too. Those little pancake compressors and stuff like that, I wouldn't try that. That may be a little bit, this tool may be a little bit too much for it. Reasons I got this particular tool. As I said, this is my first impact, and I'm just getting into using pneumatic tools and stuff like that, or I have been for about a year now anyway. I went with this model because it has 600 foot-pounds of torque, which is kind of in the middle. You can get different models that have less torque. Maybe they'll run about 200 foot-pounds, and you can get some that run up over 1,000. So I wanted to find something in the middle of the road, something that was going to be enough that's going to get 90% of the jobs I'm doing. And if one day, if I need something that goes over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, well, then I'll go get one then. But I didn't want something that was so much torque that I was going to be breaking stuff. So I got something in the middle of the road. And one of the things that this one has is it has an adjuster here so you can dial down the power. Now each side dictates what you're doing. Now you got kind of dummy proof symbols here. It tells you if you push in this one, you're going to go counterclockwise, which of course is loosening. And if you want to tighten, you push this side in. So let's say I want to loosen something. I want to push that side in. And that is good and stiff. It snaps into place. I haven't had any issues about it coming off of its setting or something. At the same time, if I want to tighten something, I just push in that side. All right. It's a lot easier to do two-handed. On this side, you can see that this groove ends over here. It doesn't go to the edge here. This is the actual pointer. If it's pointed down here, it's at its 5th setting, which is the most power. The reason it's like that is because last time I used this, I had this turned down to 0. If you just want to spin the nut on, but not really tighten it, that's the way you do it. That way you don't over tighten it, and then you come back in with the your torque wrench and get it to the right torque. The trigger is variable, so if you squeeze it a little bit, it'll spin a little bit. Squeeze it all the way, you got full power. This part here didn't come with it, this attachment, so you will have to come up with your own attachments, and be sure you use your Teflon tape. Get that turned in there, that way you get a good seal. And it needs a 1/4 inch fitting. A little tip for you. Of course, I have a roll of Teflon tape here. If you can find these little fittings that have this stuff that's already preloaded on it, this is your sealant. This stuff works a lot better than the tape. Alright, so let's do some demos. Okay, gang. First of all, to care for your tool, you do need to oil it. Take your tool oil. I just drop it right down in a little air hole there. Put about 5 drops in it. Let's give it a little shake to kind of agitate it down there. It should be ready to go. Take your hose, pick it up. We're good. We're going to loosen first. Like I was telling you, to switch it to loosen stuff, you just put your thumb, knock that over. 22mm socket. That's what we're going to hit these lug nuts with. Now, as I say, it has a variable trigger, so if I hit it just a little bit, go slow. If I hit it a bunch, got big. Alright. On here. Trim the lug. Now if you're going to put it back on, always start it on with your fingers. You don't want to cross through it. Take your thumb, switch it over to tighten, and again, I've got this dialed down to 0 because I don't want to use this to torque this down. Remember, this can deliver 600 foot-pounds. That's impact, so the first impact probably isn't going to be 600 foot-pounds, but you don't want to hit it with that much regardless. You just take it. You can probably tell how weak it sounded. Switch over. Torque it down properly. Now it's done right. Now I'll give you a little demonstration. If you turn the power down, now this is, I've got it set to loosen, and I've got it at 0 power right here. Alright, now if I turn it up to 5, you can probably hear the difference. So let's have it on 0. We'll loosen the lug nut with it set on 0. So you can see how much less power it has at 0. Now if I turn it up to about 3, it had to work a little harder, but it got it. Like I said, I didn't want to do this review until I had a chance to have this thing out in the field and actually use it, and use it a lot, which I have. So I will roll a little video, just some real quick clips of where I've been using it. If you're doing a tire rotation, this thing is going to save you a lot of time. And that's what I'm doing here in this video. And just imagine if you were trying to do that with a 4-way or a breaker bar, how long it would take. Right here I'm removing caliper bolts. This could have been done with the ratchet probably. They're not on very tight, but this thing is handy and it'll make it a lot quicker. Here we're getting the caliper mounting bracket bolts. And these things are on tight and you're fighting the Loctite. You're really going to benefit with this tool. I have a link in the description to this video so you can watch it and see what's going on here. But basically the caliper pin is stuck in there and I'm using the impact to actually break it free so I can get it out of there. Let's go ahead and do the standard issue questions. Star rating. 5 out of 5 stars for this. This thing has changed the way I work on vehicles so much for the better. Would I recommend it to a friend? Well, I just gave it 5 stars, so yeah, I would recommend it to a friend. And I did a lot of research before I bought, and I shied away from some of the other brands because the reviews are coming back basically showing that even though maybe it claimed it had X amount of impact pounds, it wasn't actually delivering it. Some of them would fall apart, that kind of thing. It just wouldn't last. Again, I waited a year. I've used this thing a bunch. You kind of see some of the scars it's getting on it. A little bit of rash and stuff there. It's been put through the paces, let me tell you. And the thing is, it's holding up well, and you can buy rebuild kits for these. The company does have rebuild kits that you can buy. But I feel like this tool, even though it's made in China, it's going to last a long time. I have a lot of confidence in this tool. Highly recommended to anybody. If you need an impact, this is the way to go. Let's talk a little bit about the application of this tool. I really can't do this review without talking about that because I see these things misused so much. And I've already hit a little bit on it. This is great for loosening stuck bolts, nuts, etc. It's great for that. That's what it's designed for. This thing will spin them on. You can change the direction of it, go clockwise and spin that on. Do not use it primarily for that. There is a time and place for this. It is loosening stuck bolts and nuts or some that are just on real tight and hard to get off. Obviously, like in the brake video, if you're doing something with Loctite on it, this is the guy right here. I see people use these to put the lug nuts back on, and I'm talking about without torque sticks. Whether or not torque sticks works is a whole different debate, but I'm talking about without them. And you're jamming yourself up. There has been reports of people, and I'm aware of one, that he was using this to put on oil drain plugs. Now, I don't know that it was a 600 foot-pound. It might have been one of the smaller models. Still, keep this away from oil drain plugs. Keep this away from any type of drain plug, any type of soft metal. It's going to damage it. If you shear off that oil drain plug and it's stuck up in there, you're going to be hating yourself. Instead of me yammering on about how you shouldn't do it, I like demonstrations. Got a 1/2 inch socket. It's just an old brake rotor, and I've got this bolt in here. There's a nut on the other side. We're going to tighten it and just see what happens when we use this nice 600 foot-pound impact on that little bolt. By the way, I do have safety glasses on. All right, gang, how long do you think I'll have to lay onto this bolt before it's going to snap? Let's find out. It's actually still attached. I think we actually stripped out the nut. Okay, gang, did a little work off camera and got this little bolt out. Do you see something wrong with it? That's your oil drain plug if you was to use that impact wrench on it. I don't know how well the camera picks that up, but the inside of that bolt doesn't look much better. By the way, when I picked this thing up, it was incredibly hot. Even burnt me through my little glove there. Okay, I actually expected that the bolt was going to shear apart, Instead, it just stripped itself. I guess either could happen. I had done that once before just to see what would happen with this, and the other time I did it, the bolt sheared apart. So anyway, on one hand, it's a good demonstration of why you don't use this tool for tightening soft metal, small bolts, things like that. Basically for tightening in general, it probably should be done with a torque wrench. It's also a good demonstration on the power that this thing has, and cautionary, if you've got something that's really stuck on there, don't just go to this. Think about using penetrating oil and stuff like that, because the power that this thing delivers can also work against you. Use penetrating oil, stuff like that. Sometimes you may need to use heat, and I have to go for that torch. So anyway, the biggest way that this thing has helped me is time saving. Imagine doing that pickup truck on just a tire rotation, something pretty basic, right? And you know, I've been doing that kind of thing since I was a teenager. What was I using? I was using a 4-way or a breaker bar to get those bolts off. And I can tell you, on a hot summer day, middle of August in Kentucky, it's pretty hot, it's pretty humid. You go through on a regular car, you got 20 lug nuts. You go through this truck, it has 6 per wheel, that's 24. You get on that hot, humid August day, by the time you get done doing that, that's going to take a little bit of energy out of you, and just the time it takes, because you're slowly spinning them off rather than having something that just zips them right off. So just in that aspect, this thing is a big time saver. Last year I did a brake job on a Buick. I didn't videotape that one. You saw a clip of the videotape of where I did a brake job on my truck. In both cases, those bolts were put on there with Loctite from the factory, and it's been sitting there for all those years. And those were some hefty bolts, and they're torqued down quite a bit. If I was sitting there trying to do a breaker bar to get them loose, and especially on that Buick, if I'd been trying to use a breaker bar on it, those things were tight the whole time they were coming out. And this impact was really having to work on them. I wouldn't have been able to just break it with the breaker bar and go to a ratchet to get the rest of the way out. That thing was tight coming all the way out. So I would have been hitting it with the breaker bar, reposition, hit it again, and I would have had to do that to work that whole bolt down. Imagine how long that would have took. This thing had it probably out in about 15 to 20 seconds. And you saw how quick it pulled a lug nut off, so I'm serious with that 15 to 20 seconds. That was actually quite a long time for this thing to have to work. By the way, thinking of that Buick, the way the shock strut tower was positioned in relation to one of the bolts made me think of something. Get yourself one of these. This is a Wobble Extension. You can move that back and forth. You just put this between the impact and your socket. Now your socket can wobble around. You can get in somewhere. It's really going to make your life a lot easier when you run into that situation. All right, gang, there you have it. The Ingersoll Rand 231C 600 foot-pound impact wrench. 5-star rating, highly recommended. If you decide you want one, check for a link in the description. I'll also put a link in the description of one of these little Wobble extensions. You can now connect to me socially on Facebook. And also, I'm accepting contributions. If you'd like to contribute to Dave's Garage, go to Patreon. Both links to Facebook and Patreon are in the video description. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, click subscribe. Also, click the little bell so that you'll get notifications when I release a new video. Also, don't forget to like the video and comment. In the comments, tell me about your experiences using impact wrenches and your thoughts on some of the things I've talked about in this video. All right, that pretty much wraps it up. So I'll see you on the next one.